Hey guys, it's Joe Troyer. Welcome to this video. This is the prequel or the intro to the Aaron Ross interview. I've officially tried to record this video twice now, and for some reason I've been able to save it. So lots and lots of fun here on our end, lots of technical difficulties. Anywho, if you don't know who Aaron Ross is, he's the guy behind Predictable Revenue. All right? He is the man that added $100 million in recurring revenue for Salesforce.com. And the cool thing about that, that's just amazing, right? But the really cool thing about that is that the process basically was doing cold emails to consults, right? That sounds familiar. Sales mastermind, right? So that's why I'm so excited to have him on. I've been working on this deal for about 2.5 months to get him on an interview with me. I believe that he's kind of the godfather of this cold email sales process, and that's why I wanted to have him on. I don't think there's anybody better to speak to us about the leverage points and the gotchas, things to look out for in this process, right? And to teach us more than Aaron Ross. So I brought him on. Before I get into the interview, though, I wanted to catch you guys kind of up on a couple of things and talk to you guys about my big takeaways before I let you listen to the interview. So first things first, I recommend definitely, even if you watch this, go as well and go download the book or go buy the book. Go listen to it, go read it, even if you watch this interview, right? It's super good, and I've officially been through the book twice now. Okay, so their process that Aaron talks about in Predictable Revenue is a little bit different than ours in a couple areas, and I just want to hit on those first. Okay, so basically they were doing prospecting, right, to Fortune 500 companies, very, very large companies. So basically they were emailing someone 1 to 2 positions higher than the ideal person for them to talk to. Okay, and basically they were asking the CEO or the VP or somebody like that for an introduction to the right person. Okay, and they were finding that they had an awesome response rate with that. And that's how they kicked off their cold email stack or their cold email stuff, right? So obviously we don't do that. Why don't we do that? Well, the person that we're selling to is the business owner. There's not going to be anybody 1 or 2 levels up, typically. Okay, so for best practice, that's why we don't do that. Their team structure is a little bit different than ours. We're going to use some vernacular or some stuff in this call that you need to know, and so I want to share this with you. So first things first, their team structure goes market response reps, and these are people that only handle inbound leads. Okay, then SDR, which stands for outbound sales development reps, and basically the outbound sales development reps, or SDRs for short, their goal and their responsibility is to create opportunities, make sure that there is an opportunity, make sure that there's pain in the service that they're selling, right? And also to qualify. Okay. Then once that happens, they hand off the account or the prospect to AE or to the account executives, right? Basically you. Or the equivalent to you, the person doing the actual consults themselves. All right, so there are a couple big takeaways here. First, I really like this graphic I pulled from predictablerevenue.com to help you guys understand the 3 different levels, right? The market response reps that we just talked about, the outbound sales development reps, and then the account executives. The second thing I really liked and that I want to share with you guys is just this cool little funnel graphic. What the process that Aaron goes through in Predictable Revenue is what they call cold calling 2.0. So I think that this is a cool illustration of kind of what our funnel looks like, right? And I think that you guys should be thinking about your funnel and the sales stack in this kind of way, right? We start out as wide as possible, and as we qualify and talk to people and have the consults, right, and then actually have an opportunity or a sale, it comes down into a funnel, right? Next up is a big aha moment that we've had that Aaron actually brought up during the call that I wanted to talk to you guys about. He talks about in the call training new employees, even if they're like salespeople, let's say, in support or services before they're salespeople. Okay, and an example of this for us is that, when we hire a new support person, we don't show them our support desk and say, here's our support desk, here's how you use it. Instead, what we do is we onboard them onto our stuff like a customer, right? And we show them and we make them go through and set up analytic call tracking and go through and use all of the different options, right? Buy phone numbers, set up companies, so all that stuff, just like you guys would. So when you guys are having a problem and you submit a support ticket, they actually know the software. They know how to solve the problem, right? And so when you guys are thinking about bringing on salespeople, for example, you should bring them through into some type of support or services role first so they understand what the heck you're even doing, right? So that they understand the business, not just their job, right? So Aaron talks about in the book some example onboarding type of schedules. So for 2 weeks do general training on what the company does, right? Week 3 start inching them into sales if they're a salesperson. Then this next week give them more sales, and the third week really start to bombard them with sales stuff, for example. So I had 2 really, really big takeaways from this interview with Aaron Ross. First and foremost, Aaron told me that when predictable revenue doesn't work for somebody and he's talking with them, the reason that it didn't work for them is that they take it too literally, right? It's like, here's exactly how they did it, right? And predictable revenue and cold calling 2.0, as they call it, I have to do it the exact same way. There's some circumstances that Aaron and I talk about in the interview that don't make a whole lot of sense, right? So for us, our target market and the person that we need to be selling to is the local business owner. We can't reach out via cold email to positions higher than them to get an introduction like they talk about in predictable revenue. So we don't do it. And basically Aaron says that's okay, right? Not everything is a hard and fast rule. The other big takeaway was that we're doing the process right. We're having crazy, crazy results internally and with you guys as a community as well. Okay, the second big takeaway is to specialize. Okay, so for us, what that really means is we're going to start taking things off of our chest, and I mean you, right, as soon as possible and as soon as it makes sense. So right now, basically, I'm going to assume, hypothetically, that you guys have had only one sale in the program. Obviously, that may not be the case. You might have already had 10 or 15 sales, right? But just for sake of simplicity, let's say that I'm in the program right now, okay, and I am following the training. I have one sale, I just get my second sale. The first thing that I should be outsourcing is lead gen, right? Harvesting all the data to put in the sales stacker to feed QuickMail, right? So outsourcing the lead gen part of it and the lead harvesting part of it. Why? Because that's the easiest thing for me to start, and as they train up, they could get into other positions too. Okay, so the first thing, and again, I recommend it 2 sales, once you hit 2 sales, to start outsourcing your lead gen. Okay, the harvesting data for the sales stack, not, again, please, not the actual calls that are going to the local businesses, right? So harvesting data for sales stack is the first thing. That's one position. Then SDR, right? Once you get to 4 or 5 sales, the next position that you should be outsourcing or the next position you should have at your company is an SDR. And their role, okay, to us is to respond to emails and cold calls with the goal of setting appointments, right? So that we don't have to anymore, okay? And basically, then their job is going to be to tee us up with those set appointments as the AE, right? As the person doing the consults. And then after we're at 6 figures, the goal is going to be to find somebody, a new account executive, to actually take over the consult. So I hope you guys really dig this interview with Aaron Ross like I did. I didn't get the exact takeaways that I thought I was going to get, but nonetheless, this was an awesome, awesome interview with Aaron Ross. Enjoy. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, yeah, that Joe?
Yes. How's it going, man?
Hey, good.
Sounded like you had one of your kiddos. There you go.
Oh, yeah, she got hurt, so.
Oh, man.
Not badly. She's scraped, but she's a little under 2, so.
Yeah, I got a 1.5-year-old.
Every time yeah. They're all different, but so whenever she sees like a scrape again, she says, it's like starts crying. As long as she doesn't see it, she forgets about it, she's fine.
Yep. Yes.
Where are you, like where are you from? Out of?
Yeah,
What?
we're in South Florida, West Palm Beach area.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, man. So
Was,
thanks for taking my call today. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be able to catch up with you.
yeah, happy to. So you said you've got, I see an agency doing some outbound stuff, and you were looking for some tips.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the gist of it.
Just in terms of scales, kind of some gotchas and stuff like that. So basically, we run. I'm sure you've heard of like pay per call offers or campaigns.
Yeah.
So the problem with like the big pay per call offers and campaigns is that they sell them like very large nationwide deals, and so because of that,
Yeah.
they have to take like the entire country as coverage. And we started doing those campaigns and realized that we could make a whole lot more money selling them in regions or territories instead of going through the pay per call networks.
Mm-hmm.
So, for an example,
the reason we're like, what kinds of campaigns? Is it more like consumer? This is B2B though, right?
no, it's not B2B actually.
Or,
It's consumer to business. Yeah. So, like for example, a water damage company, we can promote a national pay per call campaign through one of the affiliate networks and get paid like $12 a call. That's billable, like over 90 seconds.
Yep.
Or I can sell direct for
Yep.
$400.
Oh wow, that's quite a difference.
Yeah, huge difference. So we've been kind of using a lot of your methodologies to do it. So cold email to like a 3-step, email sequence. The only thing that's different, I'd say, is we're not asking for like the step down for who is the appropriate person necessarily.
Yeah.
Because the businesses are so small. Yeah. You know, we work with like $3 million plus businesses, and so a lot of them don't even have the appropriate person that we'd even contact.
Yeah. So you're selling in terms of the $400, you're finding a business like a water damage or plumber who's willing to pay $400 per call.
Yep.
Yep.
And then we're bringing them into our network. So we handle all the fulfillment, and they just take the calls. They pay us out per call. And so it's a no-brainer for the local business, you know, economy and everything changing with the internet and stuff like that. It's a no-brainer for them. We do more disqualifying than qualifying in our consults, and we convert typically like 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 of the consults that we get to an actual paid client.
Okay.
So basically the way that we've been running things right now is we have sales guys that we have taught our cold email. We use QuickMail to send out the cold emails, but we've taught them basically our sales stack or our version of it, and we're having them run it, and it's working like gangbusters. But in terms of scale, we're trying to figure out what to do next. And so I've read your book actually twice. Read it and listened to it on audio, but just want to get some face time or some audio time to talk about next steps and gotchas.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay.
So
you got some questions. So yeah, it sounds like you have some things here.
Yeah, man, for sure. So like last Friday, for example, like we brought on 15 new deals to our network. And so, I mean, we're getting some good pace. Average customer value is absolute minimum, like $1,500 a month per customer per month. And so I think we have a nice little sweet spot there. A lot of them will scale to 3, 5, 7, 8,000 a month. And so I guess the biggest question is in terms of next steps. I was reading your book and took some notes in terms of how the SDRs work with the AEs and everything else. If you could provide some clarity on that and some best practices, that would be great.
Well, sure. Yeah, this is definitely a place where there's a lot of people, I think, miss some important points. Like, for example, I'll start with the most important one. Well, there's like a couple. And you can tell me where you've already hit things right or versus where you missed. But
okay.
At least in B2B, sort of that relationship of one prospect. First of all, it's important to have a prospect, whoever's doing the prospecting, to be partnered up with specific salespeople.
Okay.
Right, not to be pooled.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and usually it's like, ideally it's probably more like one between sort of one prospector, anywhere to 1 to 4 salespeople.
Okay.
And so not 6, not 10.
Okay.
Just because really that relationship between the prospector and the people they're passing leads over to is really important.
Okay. See, we don't we don't
think
kind of do the traditional there actually, and the reason that we don't, and maybe it's just my wrong thinking, but we have one person that basically runs the cold email gathering and outreach, and then one person that responds and then actually takes the consults. And my reasoning for that, and I could be completely wrong, was because we don't have near as many calls to a sale, and we're not really asking for that step down or introduction.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're closing most deals on one sale or one consult.
Yeah. Well, in that case, that would make sense to split it up that way, where if you have sort of like the prep person versus the conversation person.
So, I mean, I was thinking about entering in one more area. So it's like the prep and the person that books the calls, and then just the person to do the consult, kind of following your stuff a little bit more.
And right now you've got 2 people doing it in total?
We have a lot of sales reps.
So that's just like per sort of team, you mean? Or how many people are doing what?
So, I mean, right now we have, I mean, just in terms of like active that have made deals, I mean, I would say close to 100 salespeople.
Okay. And what you're saying is and how many people are doing prospecting? Like you mentioned,
so basically we have
cold email gathering.
Yeah, we have a cold email gathering person, and then they basically have the system going and keep it, on life support, so to speak, with emails and contacts into the cold email platform, and then we have the people that actually run the consults. There's no in between.
Okay, so it's like one. More like a marketing person, it's called like outbound marketing.
Yep.
And sending all the emails responses all to those 100 salespeople.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and like if it's one call close. In fact, if you haven't read it, you should for sure read the new book From Impossible. But that's one of the exceptions where if it's a one call close, yeah, that's the same person, or whatever. Maybe it's 2 calls. If it's really easy, simple, let's go that way. And anytime you can. Really, it's a place where you just end up looking at the important things that, it's like who should be doing what, but also like, are there important things that aren't happening that should be?
Yeah, I don't think we're following up as much as we should be after the initial call, and I think that's just because we've done so well in our close numbers that, we haven't paid attention as much as we probably should be with the follow-up.
Yeah. So, and it's sort of like, it's always evolving. So in that case, sometimes it makes sense. And this is where the idea is focus, right? The people doing fewer things better. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it makes sense. It's just better to, have them do it all in this sort of simple case. But, it may or may not make sense to have, there's lots of ways to do automated follow-up that are okay.
Yeah.
You can't like totally automate it, so there's usually some sort of like list building.
Yeah.
It's usually like 80-20. 80% is maybe databases, but 20% still has to be done in some sort of by hand.
Yep.
Really to get the best result.
Yep.
Follow up as well.
Yeah, we're using like quickmail.io for our email sequence. I'm not sure if you heard of them.
Yeah, quickmail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of it. There's like 100.
There's a ton of them. they're all jumping on your back and running the running.
Yeah, it's not giving me a percentage, but so we have our own platform, but it's different. It's more So yeah, we're running 100, but it's a higher end one, not.
Yeah.
But so anyway, there's quickmail, and then are you? A lot of this is, how well can you gauge people's. So like what's working and what's not working? Yeah,
so the email sequence is working, I think, pretty well. I mean, we're getting, I'd say, between 5 and 10% of the people that we email to directly book a consult through like a calendar platform without us even doing anything.
That's great.
And then, I mean, anybody that like we've deemed is kind of engaged in our sequence and is replying and stuff like that, we reach out to, and I would say, we have another than 5 to 10% that we're actually able to book over the phone or via, hand follow-ups.
Yeah, because especially, 3 million emails should work pretty well. If for like the smaller the businesses you target, the less email works, just because they,
It's been working pretty well. I mean, I think that we've done a good job on the lead harvesting and aggregating side, getting the right person. That business owner or marketing head. Usually it's the business owner though. So I don't personally believe that there's a whole lot of leverage left in the emails, just from what I mean. We've been testing a lot and split testing, and I mean we'll get little marginal gains every once in a while, but not much. I'm thinking that the biggest leverage point is going to come from having somebody else queue up, like an appointment setter, somebody queue up the person actually doing the consults or the discoveries.
So more of the calendaring, or is there actually like an initial conversation?
Calendaring and just getting them to agree to the call.
Yeah, over email.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's sort of what it works for us. We do outsource prospecting, but only email based because the phone call. So I think if you could look at how to segment those different kinds of conversations.
Okay.
It sounds like that could be. There's this danger, which I wouldn't be too worried about it yet, but there's some certain skills that salespeople need to have, or at least prospectors need to have. Yep. And if you automate them too quickly, or then they lose something. So like prospectors who, for example, don't build their own lists. Yep. If marketing just gives them entire lists, there's some sense of their territory and data they just lose that makes them less of an effective person. I gotcha. And I think calendar, like appointment setting, is not necessarily one of those areas, but I can see that if salespeople were totally disassociated, I would just pay attention, which is if they're totally disassociated from sort of appointment setup. There's a lot of benefits in terms of time for them because it should suck, but would they end up losing something? I gotcha. I don't know. I've just seen enough times where. Yeah. But that's I understand. Sure be area.
I think for me, I think it would be hard to move anything away from the lead gen side in terms of emails and finding the list, just because it's been such a leveraged point for us. I think that we do it really, really well. And I mean, there's not like a whole lot of sifting or sorting or filtering that we can even do on those lists because we're so targeted in who we're going after. You know what I mean? And our deal size isn't as big as your guys. You know what I mean? So we, the more conversations that we have, the better.
Mm-hmm. What are you using to track everything as a sales system?
QuickMail is what we use on the front end to track all of the emails going out, engagement, replies, and then we put people actually through QuickMail as well into follow-up sequences for long-term and then just short-term as well. So prospect does, we don't disqualify. They don't sign an agreement on the spot. We, push them through for longer-term follow-up for the next 2 weeks, basically on the deal. And then if we don't get a contract signed back, they go on a long-term follow-up. More value-based instead of just follow-up, I guess you would say.
Yeah. Okay. And then do you track other things like conversations a day, or appointments set versus what's completed versus accepted?
Yeah, for sure.
Like pipeline metrics.
Yeah. Your book helped a lot with that. All of your graphics. It sounds like I'm missing some good stuff in your new book, though. Care to elaborate, like what that is, or why the team should spend time on it?
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, hold on. I'm getting my wife is calling me. Just 1 second.
No worries.
I apologize. Must be important. Okay. So I think from the new book, it's like a sequel and a prequel to the prior one.
Okay.
And I don't know if you won't give you, but there's more on how to scale the sales team itself.
Okay.
Different topics like type of sales leader and training, coaching, just more on that.
I gotcha.
There's it's a growth book, not a sales book.
Okay.
There's also there's some stuff on culture and management, like how do you get employees to take more of a ownership of what they do?
Yeah.
How do you have them take more initiative so they can contribute more, especially if you have a bigger team. I mean, I think, and then there's the first section is called Nail a Niche. It's really about it's not probably so much for you as a company. It sounds like you've already done that, but how it'd be a section I'd have your people read, which is thinking about why, like finding that intersection between someone who needs you and what and understand their pain and how do you communicate with them.
Yep, definitely.
So it's more about, so you don't have we don't want robots. You want people who they use the scripts to learn, but then they know how to adapt to different situations rather than be dependent on scripts.
Yep, definitely. I think that's probably one of the hardest things to teach in our experience has been to not sound like a telemarketer and to be conversational, and what are the key points that need to be conveyed, and that's been a big hurdle for us for sure.
Yeah, it just takes way more practice than most people realize, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
And to lose the sales voice a lot of people have.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, man, we'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of people said it's the best business book they've ever read, which surprised me. But I'll look at.
Did you write that one in a weekend too?
No, yeah, that was like 2 years of just grinding. No.
Yeah, I saw in Clarity one of your other talking points or gigs was how to write a bestseller in a weekend. So
yeah.
that's why I brought that up. So
it was,
in our circumstance, Aaron, I really liked in your book when you talked about when a prospect's qualified and the SDR hands off to the account executive, that the SDR gets paid when they're like qualified.
Mm-hmm.
How would we do that in our kind of scenario, or is that even applicable?
It's always applicable. Well, here's the thing. What's always applicable is there's the lead gen funnel and then there's the sales funnel.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and you can have everything can, you can have infinite funnels, but right. So you send a first email, and then there's like the working queue, right? If they were cold, then they become working. And then they agree to a consult.
Yep.
Right? And then they have the consult. And then they either, does the person think that they're qualified or not? And it's hard to say to what extent that would be. At first, I always look at like what are those steps and what are the metrics you care about before trying to figure out, does someone get measured or comped on something? So if you have all that broken, I don't know.
Yeah,
you have it all
I mean the criteria.
Down,
the criteria for us is basically health of the business, which is hard to kind of gauge. There's a lot of these, local brick and mortar companies that are hanging on by a thread, and while we need pain to be able to sell, we also don't want to be their last lifeline.
Yeah, well, they need
exactly. So we can't have them so painful that they're about to go out of business, right? They still need money to pay and float things while we get them business. And while they wait for the receivables, right? So it's that they're the right size of business, and then it's that the numbers break down for them, right? I mean, because we charge so much more, we get them to understand their customer value and what every customer's worth, believe it or not. But these local brick and mortar businesses typically have no idea, and when we work it back for them, they're like, "Oh, that's great!" Like they're clueless.
Makes sense.
So those are the three things.
Shocked if they weren't clueless.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So those are the three things. I mean, as long as they fit there, I mean, they're sold basically. It's just a matter of do they have the money or don't they? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that, I think about the measuring qualified opportunities is really about targeting for you. Right? That's sort of a tighter loop between here's who we're going after, region, size of the company, campaign, and then to what extent was that successful in generating qualified consults.
Yep.
People, so not so much maybe on the quota side, but just that targeting.
Okay. So I just think my SDR, I guess, is going to be a little bit different. But that's why I was asking that question.
Yeah, I don't know. It may not make sense to, this is for your email and gather guy, right? Or are you thinking about the appointment
the new position, the appointment setter.
Yeah.
I just don't think that they're going to be having the communication as much with the prospect. The account executive basically handles that now, and there's not much communication until the actual consult. So, sometimes there's a couple of emails back and forth, but it's not like they're on the phone pre-qualifying them, and we have to jump on 6 calls or 10 calls until the deal's done.
Yeah.
So I really liked what you said about how you guys pay the SDR. I really liked that point. I just didn't know if it was quite applicable.
Yeah, not so much here. Now, what you could do is, if you wanted to do it, would be, first, because really what you're talking about is they are just trying to generate the most number. A bit of it depends on how you define the role. Because if you have simply just a appointment setting person, but versus someone who might need to check that business out online, maybe call the business. If there's some things they can do, it's better, if possible, for them to do some sort of check to say, all right, this company is still in business, whatever. This is a decision maker. It's not, and okay, yes, it's worth a meeting, or there's some thing that tells them it's a waste of time. That's actually really helpful if you can do it. In that case, again, I usually look at the first 60, 90 days as just like a test period to sort of get some data. Without trying to come up with a comp plan too soon when the role is new, because you don't know.
You don't know.
It's all guessing. So let's just pick some sort of starter goals. Let's try, we have no idea. Let's try X, let's try Y. Do it for 60, 90 days as it evolves, and then step back. Then you tell a person, after 90 days, we're going to look at how, what comp looks like. If we do anything, maybe no, maybe it's per hour, maybe not, but we'll just reevaluate at that point.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. I agree with you. I just want to make sure that, the account executive is getting teed up with appointments that are going to show and that are qualified. Obviously, nothing worse for an account executive to just be bombarded and have a ton of no-shows. So. Yeah,
no, really, you want the fewer better, and it's like that scheduling can be so time-consuming.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, cool, man. That helps. At least something to look at. And then let's see. I'm just looking through my questions. You start.
Is everyone based in South Florida with me?
No. So we have people kind of all over the U.S. Selling this stuff. We're in water damage primarily right now, but moving out into right now roofing and fencing and HVAC and quite a few other verticals. So that's been kind of a challenging thing to get the account profile down, and who is that account, what is the lingo, and what does that customer exactly look like with us going after more verticals. So I think that your new book would definitely help in that kind of scenario.
Oh yeah, I would get it and maybe get a few copies for the office.
For sure, man. But
you can get the PDF of the first chapter and send it to the team. It's that nail and itch one.
Okay.
It's from impossible.com. Has some of the summary stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's so. I think. Yeah, is everyone phone based, like inside, or people in the field too?
Mostly phone based. Almost all, like 95%. We just find in the field we can't get to the decision maker very easily. It's actually harder. We can get to them better via email, and obviously then it's not near as leveraged.
Yep.
How about could you talk about onboarding and your guys' training program for a minute? In terms of, I remember reading the book. You guys kind of have a progressive week 1, week 2 is kind of general overview company training, and then week 3 you get into your 3 goals.
Yep. Well, so that was more of like a general idea of the value of starting someone not in the job they need to do from day one. Okay, so let me tell you a story about our own company.
Okay.
We do outsourcing. There's 3 things. There's consulting, and we do outsourced prospecting. It's really for like software B2B companies, and then we also we have a software platform, and we have a CEO. I merged with the company this younger guy, CEO. And most of the company, the cash flow is generated by the outsourcing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but so for the last year, I've been saying we need to get someone. And ironically, all of our leads come from inbound sources, which is, it's natural, let's say. But
Yeah.
I've been saying we need to get someone inside who's doing prospecting, either for ourselves or for ourselves, for the learning, and for someone, blah blah blah. And my partner, who's younger, just didn't buy it. It's never. So finally, we got someone inside who's prospecting, starting out. And my partner said, "Oh my God, this is the person who's ramped the fastest of anyone we've ever hired." Because normally we hire someone and they go right into sort of outsourced campaign management. I'm like, yes, because they're freaking doing the job that we are teaching people how to do
Yeah.
before they go into sort of like by not starting the sales from day one, by taking a side route to do some role where they can learn as much as possible about the business.
Yeah.
And they go back into sales, they like ramp so fast.
Yeah.
That's the idea. If there's another, I don't know if there's other places. So sometimes you've got to place your company, but at least I think a few weeks,
Yeah.
as much as possible, you can resist to, talk to customers on the phone and support.
Yeah.
To go shadow other people in the company. To, have a staged phase around. That's why in the book it was, a couple of weeks of actually on the support lines, then a couple of weeks of calling old leads before it started doing cold stuff.
Exactly.
To grow them. It's like a rotation. Like how GE or big companies will rotate people through their different businesses. Same thing, but just do it, within 3 to 6 weeks, and they will be a much better. Like it might seem slower up front, but they will be a much better, more well-rounded employee after that.
Yeah, we do that in we have a training and software side of the business too, and we really do that in that side. And everybody basically comes through support, so they come on like a customer basically, and learn the systems and the software, and then and only then do they start to see the other side of the business. So that works really well there.
Yeah, that was basically it. I mean, every company is a bit different. Sometimes they can actually do that role. Sometimes I just have them shadow other people, and so it's a bit being creative with what you got and how to expose people to as much of the business and customers as possible.
Okay.
Before they get sort of trapped in the role.
Okay.
Because once you're under quota, you can't really do anything else, really.
Yep. Okay. So, I mean, I think that's it, man. I think that we have lots of leverage right now with the actual email harvesting and stuff. The account execs is the big piece and what I was trying to get from you, right? We need to free them up so that they can do more consults. And I think, you confirm that that's definitely something that we need to do. I mean, it's almost an SDR. It's a little bit different and some smaller SDR role, but obviously there'll be more volume. So.
Yeah, and I think this is where people go wrong is they sort of take my stuff too literally versus saying like, here's the principle, here's how it's worked. It's the principle. It's like usually focus or organization, and like look at your business and how would you apply it in a way that makes sense for you, as you've done. I mean, really, you've done a great job, and like every entrepreneur is always just figuring it out day by day.
Definitely.
There's always something new.
Definitely.
And I think what I would say is, in the new book, check it out. There's like this, there's you can see, but there's stuff on management and culture at the back, and there's stuff on scaling sales.
Yep.
But if you remember this, it'd be like parts. Probably one. It's all the odd numbers.
Okay.
Well, 1, 3, 1, like 1 parts 1. There's 6, 7 parts. 1, 3, 6, 7. But the flap has a summary. You can sort of see what is interesting.
Okay.
But it's way better than predictable revenue.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, man. We'll definitely check that out. In terms of your experience, what are kind of the big gotchas that we need to be careful of? Last kind of big question for you in terms of scale at this point, with you seeing kind of where we're at right now.
Well, how many sales of the 100 people you've got roughly? How many do you have to turn over a year?
Not there yet, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. That's one. So end up with a churn that's too high. Another one, you may be past this, is customer attrition.
Yeah.
Or too much of a focus on getting new customers rather than putting, even more emphasis on getting success for the ones you got. Right. So the whole customer success. This is in the new book too, but like program, process, and then the value of it. Right. Customer success isn't about satisfaction; it's about revenue.
I love that. I love that because that's exactly like what we do as a company. Obviously, you know, we know what a call is worth to the end consumer, and that's why we charge per call. It's all about revenue. It's all about us driving revenue for them. You know, on top of us just providing the raw calls, you know, we talk to them, you know, every single month to find out what those calls actually did. You know, what was the bottom line revenue for that business? And I mean, in water damage, you know, every call that we send, I mean, we charge $400 for them, but every call that we send is worth about $5,000. So I mean, it's a it's a no-brainer, and so we're always driving, you know, that point home.
Yeah, that's good. Sounds like you have a great business there. So.
All right, man. Thank you so much for your time, Aaron. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll let you get back
Thanks
to your
for your
kids.
Joe, and good luck.
All right, man. I'll be picking up that book.